back in Fairview again today. This is, I believe, about 14 days since these bees have been installed. We showed you what we did after 3 days about getting our queen out. We've waited about 7 days to come back into this hive now to check them out. The only thing that's been done is feed has been added to the feeder. So we're going to take and see how the bees are doing. But we want to show you something that we noticed that we had a little bit of an ant issue with ants getting into the feeder. So if you'll look, we changed our stands. We went to an all steel stand, put it on bricks, made sure it was nice and solid. We put just small tuna cans underneath each leg and filled them with water. This should solve our ant problem. We just may occasionally have to add a little bit of water to them every once in a while. And when we did this, we just set the hive over to the side briefly for just a moment and placed the stand, and then placed the hive right back in the same location that it was before. Because if we wouldn't have done that, say we would have moved the hive over here and left it there, the bees would have come back to this location where it was sitting previously. So if you do run into that issue and you have to do that, always remember you can remove that hive for a short period of time and then place it right back in the same location that it was before. But now we're going to take and go into this hive and see particularly what we're looking at, what we need to do to these bees. So I'm going to go ahead and put on my face protection here, my veil, and get it zipped on. I always like these jackets. They're nice in the summertime because I can wear a short sleeve shirt just like I'm doing right now when it's 90 degrees outside. And I don't have to worry about the bees stinging me because it's got a tight mesh inner layer, a tight outer mesh, and a thick foam mesh in the center, so the bee stinger's not long enough to get through it. So let's go ahead and dig in. First thing we're going to do is remove our lid. We're going to turn it upside down over to the side. We're going to pop this up. As you can see, we mentioned we had a little bit of an ant issue, and we can see the bees are doing their thing. They're pulling a little bit of comb right here off of the feeder screen. We're going to show you how to remove that. And to keep the bees out of the sugar syrup while we're doing our inspection, we're just going to leave this inner cover since we have syrup in there. We're going to basically come around to the back of the hive. We're going to just take and insert our hive tool between the feeder, just like so. We're going to lift it up slightly, and now we're loose. So we can remove this hive top feeder and just set it to the side. One thing that I failed to bring with me, I usually have a frame holder on here, and we'll show you that in some of our next videos. So we're going to make do without it today. But we're going to take very first, you notice that the frames are centered into the box. Very first thing we're going to do is very gently, if bees are right here on the ears of the frames, we're gonna bump them, get them out of the way, and then just very gently push the frames over to the other side of the box up against the side wall of the box, and doing so ever so gently. Then we're going to take and insert our hive tool right down in here, push the bees out of the way, and then just give it a slight twist, just like so. Now we can take and pull this up, keeping it over the top of the box till we inspect to make sure that the queen is not on this frame. As you can see, the bees are doing a very nice job of pulling this comb out and making sure we can see where they're bulging it, where the honey band is going to be. We see that the honey band will be right over the top, just like this, just like it should be. So let me just take a quick look here, make sure our queen's not on this frame. Notice I'm staying over to the top of the box once again. We can see that we've got a variety of bees. We see a drone right here. See he's bigger than the rest of them. So we have drones, we have workers. I'm not seeing any kind of ropey wing or any kind of virus or anything like that, so we're doing good. I'm also going to check these frames as I'm going through for fresh eggs. And if the bees are in the way, once again, you can just blow on them. Notice how they move out of the way. And I don't know if you can see that or not, fresh eggs right at this particular point.
Yes.
And but we do have a queen. If you see those fresh eggs in the bottom of the cells right there, we've had a queen within the last 3 days. We don't necessarily have to lay eyes on that queen at this particular point in the juncture now. So now I know that queen is not there. I'm just going to take this frame very gently and lean it right up on the hive that it came from. You don't want to lean this up on another hive. Just kind of bump the bees, make sure they get out of the way. Now if you notice, we have some comb on the side walls of the box. Now we can take our smoker, come in here, and just kind of give the bees a little gentle puff. We want to make sure that that's cool smoke there again, not hot smoke to agitate the bees with. And then we're just going to take our hive tool and very gently come in here and clean this up. The cleaner you keep this, the less chances of rolling a queen, the easier it is for you to get your frames in and out. And then if you notice, there's some on the top sides of the frames as well. And since we smoked the bees are down. So it makes it easy to get this off now. Just like so. If the bees are still in the way a little bit, like right here, just give them a gentle nudge. Just like so. Okay. Now what we want to do is keep this comb to where we can gather it up later at the end of our inspection. Now we're going to just keep moving over. We're going to take and move this one out. And again, we're looking for the same thing. We're looking for the health of the bees. Oh, got a little burr comb here. Not a big deal. We can just take and very gently come right down through here, scraping that off. Very easy. We're going to brush the bees a little bit to get them to move. You just got to touch them. So now we're keeping that nice and clean so that we won't have that to worry about next time. And if you ruffle up a little bit of comb, it's okay. The bees will fix it back. They're good at it. So now I'm going to take a quick peek, again, looking at the larvae and the eggs in the bottom of the cell. So we can see that they're doing quite nicely. Looking for the different stages of starting to develop in there. And again, just always keeping a nice close eye out for the queen, see where she's at. So they're progressing right nicely. If you look in this area right here, you'll notice that there's a larva starting to develop. There, we can see that's what the next stage after an egg hatches out. So now we're going to notice how I placed that frame right up close tight to the wall of the box. We're going to go ahead and remove this comb out of our way. Shake the bees off of it if you have to. And then we're going to move further in. Now we're seeing the next stage where the brood is starting to cap right in this area. That's what capped brood looks like. It's different from capped honey. If you look up here in this corner over here where my finger's at, this is capped honey. That's what capped honey is going to look like. And once again, this is capped larva. Now you might notice later on as this larva continues to cap that you'll have straight lines that don't have any cappings in them. That's because of the wires in the frame. Honeybee queen doesn't like to lay on those wires. It's not natural. But after a few brood cycles, then polishing those cells out with propolis and the buildup of the cocoons and different things like that, then she'll start filling those in for you. But we're developing quite nicely here. And again, always keeping a sharp eye out for the queen. And we can just go ahead and again remove a little bit of this burr comb as we go along, trying to keep things nice and neat, easy to work. Don't have to be scared to remove a little bit of burr comb. And notice the difference in the color. showing genetic diversity within the bees. We see a lot of different shades in there, so different genetics coming out in these bees. And again, we're going to replace this frame and just move right back over. And if there's bees in between the ears of the frames, again, we can just kind of gently bump them, get them out of the way. And then we're going to keep working over throughout this hive. And again, you can just take and rest that frame right over the box. That way you're staying over the box at all times. So that way, if we're not over top of the box and it's a little bit windy today, the bees could ball up around the queen, drag her off the frame, and then if we're not over top of the box, we could drop her on the ground, step on her, or do something different. So it's always a good idea. And that beeswax that we're taking off, if you save that, we can use that later for lip balms and different things like that. Again, we see nice drones in here, different colors of drones. Notice his eyes, how big they are. And notice the natural thing that's going on here. We see brood in the center in an upside down bowl pattern, and then we have honey in the upper edges, just like that. And then we have some pollen that's sparsely around on the different sides of the hive, or the different sides of the frame. Excuse me. Again, we're going to just take and very gently bring those back in, and notice our smoker down here on the ground. So see how it's starting to. Watch your smoker as you're working your hive. You don't want your smoke constantly on the bees. That can agitate them as well. And if you pick up your smoker and you're going to use it and you feel that the smoke is a little hot on your hand, you can always take and puff some smoke here and just kind of let it drift over the top of the hive. See, notice that the reaction of the bees will go down out of the way. So that's a good way that if you're getting towards the end of your inspection and your smoker is running out of fuel and you don't really want to add any more smoke to it, then the thing of it is we can use that technique as well. I'm going to go ahead and scrape some more of this wax off the top and see what we've got here. Now you can see that the bees have kind of clustered to one side of the box, and the reason for that is that's the side that the sun comes up on and hits first. And the reason they're starting to work out from that area, and you can see here that basically that these eggs were not the first ones laid because they're not progressed as far along as the other frame. So we're starting to get towards the outside edge of that cluster at this particular point. So we're going to go ahead and remove some more burr comb, and again, we're keeping an eye out as we go along and do that for mites on the backs of honeybees. And later on, July and August, when this hive progresses a little further, we're going to start pulling mite checks, and we'll do a video to show you how to do a mite check properly, and as well what you're looking for on those boards when you do it. But I'm very happy with the progress that this hive is making for just being in for about 14 days. And as we can see, as we go further out, if you look at this frame, they're starting to put up quite a bit of honey there in there, and we can see in this side the same. And you notice that I'm keeping an eye out for the queen, but I don't have to see her at this particular point. Why? Because I saw those eggs, and I'm good with that. And now we're really starting to get out towards the outside edge of this, and we can see where the bees are turning. This is what foundation looks like, and this is where they're starting to draw it out This is what we call drawing it out, or drawn comb. So, and they're starting to draw it out. So we're not quite ready. I can see the next frame. We're not quite ready for another box because they have not drawn this one out. This one got a little bit damaged here. That's okay, the bees will fix it. We can see here that they haven't drawn this one. Notice I keep putting them back tight against each other. And this one here has not been drawn out either. Now to kind of end this, we're going to take and push these frames back over. Just with our hands, very gently. If we'd have left all these frames loose apart from each other, we'd have 5 or 6 different ways to mash a queen here. But because we kept them all nice and tight together, we can move them back over in the box as a unit, not having to worry about that. And remember the frame that we put on the front of the hive? We're now going to take and just pick that up and put it right back in the same place that it came from, just like that. And scrape just a couple little pieces of wax more. Now we're going to show you, remember that feeder had a little bit of burr comb in it? We're going to show you how to take care of that problem. Left my hive tool in a bad spot. That's okay. Notice I shake the box to get it back on. Now, if you notice, here's the burr comb. I'm going to go up underneath of it, just smoke the bees a little bit. Get them out of there. And then I'm just going to gently come right up in here. I have to come up in here with my hive tool just a little bit. I'm just going to cut that loose on either side. Alright, now that we got it cut loose, we can just kind of tear that out of there just very gently, just like so. Notice that the cell size on this, they're trying to store some sugar water in here. Notice the cell size, how much bigger it is than previously in the video. We have different cell sizes for different things. So we're just going to set that aside again, right over here, and then we're going to just take kind of take and scrape this off just very gently. And then we're going to take and come right up underneath here. Sometimes I use a little bit of a soft bristled wire brush to get this fully out, but we're just showing you the basics here. And then I can reach up in here, grab that, and pull that right out, no problem. And then I'm just going to do the same thing here. Oops. And we're virtually cleaned out. We'll come back and touch that up with a wire brush, a little soft wire brush later. Get this little girl out of here. Come on, get out of there. Just like that. Now, we can go ahead, pick this feeder up. Notice that I got my fingers under the box again. And then I'm just going to take and ease down. And if you look on the back side over here, there's some bees hanging out. Right here. So notice as I ease down, they'll move out of the way, no problem. And they'll find their way back to the hive. And then we can use our fingers, one on each corner, to square that equipment back up real easy. And that way we're not going from end to end with that. Now another thing that needs to be inspected is because we only have one box on this hive and bees draw wax better in the dark, we've left our Cortex board in. So we want to check that Cortex board because remember the Cortex board is under the screen, so it's an unprotected area by the bees, and they're going to drop debris, wax and pollen and different things like that. So we want to scrape that debris off and get rid of that so that it doesn't become an issue later with wax moths and different things. One thing that you'll want to do is take this away from the hive somewhere to do this. That way we're not drawing any kind of wax moths or anything close by to our hives. So we'll take and clean this off here in just a few minutes, and then reinsert that back into the hive until this first box is completely drawn out. Now this is a 10 frame hive. When the bees get to frame 2 and frame 9, we'll add another box. So they've got a few more frames. If we were to add a box now, the bees would just move up into that and leave those other frames alone, because bees like to move vertically more than they do horizontally. The thing that we'll do now is give them just a little bit more time to draw those frames out. Wait till they get to frame 9 and frame 2, and they've got those 90% drawn out, and then we'll add another box. At that point, we'll remove this Cortex board and leave it out until we get ready to pull our mite checks. So that's basically how we do a full inspection. We'll clean this off, but we'll take care of that. But until next time, you guys have a great day, and we'll see you again.